Sadhguru Jagi Vasudev is a realized master, mystic, and yogi. He has shown the way for people to attain to their natural joy and to live life with experience from one's own inner nature. His presence is filled with grace and compassion. Sadhguru's scientific approach towards spirituality and work towards the upliftment of humanity have received accolades worldwide. The words that come from him in intensity and utmost clarity, from his deep understanding and wisdom, can change the very core of the being. Belonging to no particular tradition, Sadhguru incorporates what is most valid for the modern person from the spiritual sciences. His work, an outpouring of his blissfulness, finds expression in the form of a ceaseless offering to help all beings. Available to all who are willing, Sadhguru's life is an invitation to the divine through individual transformation. Welcome to the silent revolution of self-realization.
Sadhguru, you mentioned before that you are simply an act and that there is no actor left. Then who is it that's drunk or feeling the bliss of samadhi?
Why do you think people drink? People drink alcohol because they have a hope that it will completely dissolve them and they will know an absolute sense of abandon. That's why they drink. People who cannot even sing in their bathrooms will start singing and dancing on the street with a few drops of alcohol because only the act is left. The actor has receded, not gone, receded. One who was a big man has become, if not a child, at least a small boy. They begin to think, act, speak like little boys once they're drunk, even old men. So that means the actor is receding. I'm using decent language, otherwise I should say you're retarding. Retardation is a bad word only if retardation is half done. If your retardation is total, that means nothing is left. Growth means going up, to retard means to go backwards. If you are halfway backward, it's a problem. If you're all the way gone, no problem. So, if the actor is gone, if it's all just an act, who gets drunk? To be drunk also is an act. When you say life, there are so many ways to look at it. One way is, what you call as life is a complex chemical activity. Without chemistry, there's no life. So if you can call such a large act, chemical act, as just an act, why can't you call a little extra chemistry of drink also as an act? So being drunk also is an act. Being blissful is also an act. Anyway, it is your act. Why don't you do the right act? That's all I'm asking you. Maybe you have already heard me saying this. It happened one day. A lady who is little over her prime went to bed. And in her sleep, she had a dream. In her dream, a real hunk of a man was looking intensely at her and started coming towards her. Closer, 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 he came really close. She could even feel his breath. She trembled, not in fear, and asked, "What will you do to me?" The man said, "Well, lady, it's your dream. After all, it's your act, it's your thought, it's your emotion. You can make it anything you want." Now, behind this, is there a substantial actor? No. Because an actor within you, the one who acts or one who propels this act, is just an accumulated creation. It is a mass of accumulations which makes you into a person. This is what traditionally we are referring to as karma. It is a whole karmic accumulation of information which makes you into a certain kind of person with certain kind of tendencies. It is this accumulation which you're calling as myself, that is the actor. If the actor already has certain tendencies, certain qualities, certain limitations, certain possibilities, the act will also be limited. If there is no actor with any particular quality, with any kind of accumulation, with any kind of compulsive tendencies within himself, now the act can be played whichever way you want. Now, is there any one place where we can locate this person? Will dissection or contemplation will ever locate this person who calls himself myself or me? There is no such person anywhere. The actor is also an act. It's just that you get so identified with the act that both the act and the actor seem to be so real, more real than real. What you call as myself right now is essentially a psychological process. It is not an existential process. What is psychological is not a reality, it is only a happening. It is only a certain resultant activity. Because of a certain gathering of information, certain type of thought and emotional process is happening. If you take away, wipe out the information, there will be no such activity. The flower is real. The fragrance is also real, but it is a resultant activity. Because there is a flower, fragrance is happening. If you remove the flower, the fragrance lingers only for a certain period of time and then it's gone. Only if that source is on, it is there. And flower is also a very limited happening. So psychological activity is sustained only as long as the necessary information is there. And psychological activity becomes a compulsive force only when you're deeply identified with what you have gathered. If you are not identified with what you have gathered, now still the act goes on, but there is no actor behind it, because it is only the identity which makes you the actor. If there is no identity, there is really no actor. This is the reason why you cannot even locate yourself, because you don't exist. I know that I do not exist. I know that I do not exist. You think you exist. Now, is this all some kind of wonky talk just to confuse the hell out of us? How can I confuse you? You're already thoroughly confused about your existence. I wish I could do the job, but you've done it already. There's no chance for me. I would like to confuse you, but you have not left anything to me. You've done it very well. There is not much to confuse, only because one is so confused about his own existence, he can be made to believe just about anything, just about anything. When you're as confused as you are about the very nature of your existence, even if you go to a palm reader, he may charge only 10% of the fee, because anyway you're such a lost case. Now, when I say a lost case, not in terms of your life or your business or your family, you may make it all these things you may conduct them pretty well. I'm saying you as a being, because your very being here is a make-believe happening. It is just a gathered existence. Does it mean to say, I have no soul? Yes, you have. Both of them intact, I'm sure. Is there something inside me? No, there is nothing inside you. When I say there is nothing inside you, yes, there is nothing inside you. Maybe you must put a hyphen between no and thing. There is a no thing. It is not an actor. It is not this nor that. It is not it. It is as small as it can be, as anything can be, and it is as boundless as anything can be. So it neither is or isn't. It is not the way you understand life. It is not the way you perceive existence right now, because your perception of existence is purely physical. It doesn't fit into that realm at all. It is very natural for you to understand, if there is an act, there is an actor. Even yesterday, there was a poem, there's a dance, there's a dancer. That's not how it is. That was yesterday, that was the first satsang. So, is this just one big act? It is. It is. So is it all illusion? It is, but the illusion is real. Just before the home school closed, a few young boys came up to me and asked, Sadhguru, is life real or is it a dream? Their words were, is life true or is it a dream? I said, life is a dream, but the dream is true. Now, are we just playing with more and more words, not trying to get anywhere, going in circles? So if everything is just a dream, if everything is unreal, then enlightenment is also unreal. No. If so much unreality is there is also reality. And that reality is neither the act nor the actor. It doesn't belong to the land of duality. It doesn't belong to the dimension of duality. So it is neither the actor nor the act. It is not of any quality. If there was an attribute to it, if there was a quality to it, you could have called it either the act or the actor, because it doesn't ascribe to any quality, it doesn't have any attribute attached to it. You cannot call it the actor, you cannot call it the act. It is the landscape on which everything happens. Actors and act happens in the landscape of who you are. Please see. Your personality and all the act that you perform all happens in a larger consciousness, which is just a landscape behind. It is just an empty scape, it is not even a landscape. It is just an empty scape on which you can do anything you want. You can run a small act with one actor, or you can run a phenomenal act with 1,000,000 actors. You can run whatever you want, because it's an empty scape and it's a boundless scape. It's up to you what kind of act you want to put on. It's up to you what kind of actor you want to build. Because a large part of both the actor and the act happens in such unconsciousness, and it is compulsive. Because of the compulsiveness, you think it's real. Not only real, it is happening from somewhere else. It is not happening from anywhere else. This empty scape of nothingness is capable of accommodating any kind of actor and any kind of act. That's why it's your choice. You can become godlike, you can become like a demon, you can become anything you want, because it's an empty scape. It is like once it happened. In a business meeting, the head of that institution came and put up a large white sheet and went there and drew a little dot, black dot. And he asked everybody, "What do you see?" They all looked at it and said, "It's a dot." Somebody said, "It's a spot." Somebody said, "It's a full stop." Somebody said, "It's a period." This, that. He went on asking, "What do you see? What do you see?" They got frustrated. "Okay, man, it's a black dot, what about it? You want us to give a million meanings to it?" And I said, this is the problem. The problem, why all of us are operating the way we are operating right now is, we miss the whole empty scape behind it. Our focus is on the little dot. Right now, what you call as creation is just a tiny dot in an immeasurable empty scape. Whether you look this way or you look that way, you see only a large empty scape, nothing else. What you call as creation, what you call as happening, what you call as act or the actor is just a spot. Rest is all an empty scape. Because the nature of existence is such. Today, modern science is proving this to you, that time and space can be packed. Today, modern physics proves to you that the whole universe can be packed into something smaller than an atom. Today, modern physics proves that to you, that the whole universe exploded from a tiny dot and became a whole universe. This is called as the Big Bang. This Big Bang is continuously expanding still. One day it may so happen, the physical theories say, a big crunch may happen, that everything may get crushed into a tiny little dot once again. So what you know as space and time, what is here and there, what is now and then, this is the act. All the act happens because there is space and time. And this space and time doesn't really exist, it's the projection of your mind. So both the act and the actor is your creation. When I say your creation, so is there one more actor behind the actor? Not in that sense. It is a non-acting process, it is a scape of nothingness, a non-scape, but it is capable of containing every kind of act that you wish. People are doing this out of illness. Schizophrenic means somebody becomes two inside one. There have been cases where a single person is living up to 32 different personalities within himself, full-scale personalities with relationships, life, everything. That is the maximum recorded in modern psychology. But there have been yogis who have lived hundreds of lives within themselves. Because it's an empty scape. You can write as much as you want, it's never going to become full. You don't have to fear that. Generally it is happening out of sickness, but if you are conscious, also it can happen. You can draw a very complex act or you can draw a simple act, it's up to you. Because anyway it's an empty scape. The idea of an inner actor is just an illusory idea. But right now it seems to be real, because we are identified with simple things that we have gathered. Anything that you touch, you get identified with it. So, it looks all real. So to be drunk, to be blissful, to be miserable, to be in ecstasy, to be in agony, you don't need an actor, nor do you need an act. You can simply go through all these things because that's the act. You can do whatever you want. It's after all yours. Write whatever you want. You want to draw a beautiful picture or an ugly picture, it's up to you. Or you want to have a line drawing or you want to have a detailed painting, it's up to you. So when I said I'm just an act, I'm just being straight about it. You are pretending to be real. Yes.
Sadhguru, when you say everything in existence is just energy, from the gross to the subtle, it suggests a completely impersonal reality. Does the realm of the personal, all its love, its poetry, its lunacy, its rage, its beauty, mean nothing at all ultimately? Does that mean there is no connection at all between the psychological and the existential?
So someone is really very dearly attached to all the things around them. I don't want to destroy it. If you love your life so much, why should I take it away? I don't want to take it away. But unfortunately, death will. I am not death, I am just a reminder. I am not the angel of death, I am just reminding you, anyway it's going to happen, it's better to be aware that it's going to happen. All these things that you're talking about, what are those things? Your love, your…
Its love, its poetry, its lunacy.
particularly lunacy. Love, if I talk about it, I'll become unpopular. Poetry, maybe that's okay because not many people read poetry. Lunacy, I cannot touch that because that is a universal phenomenon. So what is there left for me? Is there anything more?
Its rage, its beauty.
Okay, maybe there's some things we can talk about. Rage, not everybody has rage because it takes a lot of energy to be in rage. Someone said this, probably Che Guevara. You heard of Che? You might not have heard of him, but most probably you've seen his picture because lots of young people have his picture on their t-shirts almost everywhere on the planet. These days people don't know who he is, they think he's a rock star or something. He wasn't, he was a revolutionary who became a phenomena at a certain time in the 70s and 80s. He became a great phenomena around the world. But somehow those t-shirts are still selling. Even today, everywhere, Che Guevara's t-shirts are continuing to selling all over the planet. So Che said, if you're outraged, you're with us. So someone who is a fan of Che went on repeating this to me. Then I said, oh, that's what Che said, but please listen what I have to say. If you're out of rage, you're with me. Now, You even get attached to all the things you suffer, that's the problem. Your lunacy is not something that you enjoy. If it's on a mild scale, you think it is giving you an extra dimension of character. When your lunacy is on a mild scale, you think it's giving you a little freakish character, it enhances you. Because otherwise nobody would notice you. Now because of your lunacy, people are noticing you, taking note of you. There are a lot of people, that's the only way they can get attention. Lunacy has its benefits. When you play it on a mild scale, if it picks up momentum, then you had it. Once it picks up momentum, then you really had it, because that becomes… the ultimate suffering on the planet is mental illness, if you do not know this. If you become lunatic, if you lose this is the ultimate suffering. We always thought that if one becomes mad, there is no suffering. It is not true. The deepest form of suffering happens to you when you become mentally ill. All forms of suffering are actually different levels of mental illness, really. It's happening on mild scale. If it goes beyond a certain point, then it is called illness. It is just that small-scale lunacy you enjoy. Every day you go into it for 5 minutes and come back, you think it's giving you an added character. One day you went there and you could not come back, then people say, you're mad. No more an interesting character, you're mad. So all these things that you're talking about, your love, your poetry, your lunacy, your rage, all these things are just different manifestations of your mind, which you understand. That's why the question is the psychological, completely divorced from the existential. You please tell me yourself, look at your own psychological activity and see, where is it coming from? The information that you have gathered may be partly existential, but everything that happens within you is purely psychological. And the information that you're gathering through the 5 senses today is scientifically proved it is not the way it really is. Nothing that you see, hear, smell, taste and touch is actually the way it is. Modern physics is out to do this, already it has done it in a big way. Modern neurosciences is completely demolishing your ideas of life, not dwelling upon the scientific part of it. Experientially, if you look at it, in your mind, every day you can create a new process if you're willing. You're actually doing this. Today you're in the ashram, it is a spiritual act. You go somewhere, it is another kind of act. You can do whatever you want with this, but the existential is just the way it is. Nothing has changed about it. Shankaran Pillai joined the medical college. It is a 5-year course, but because he was so thorough about everything, it was already 10 years and still they had not released him. Then one day he went to the library and looked at the anatomy book. The same anatomy book that people were studying 40, 50 years ago, the Gray's Anatomy, is still in vogue. So, he had read these 2, 3 anatomy books that were there because he's been there for 10 years. He went to the librarian and said, "I'm fed up with this. Isn't there somebody writing something new?" The librarian said, "Well, in the last 10 years you've been here, not a single bone has been added to the human system, so they haven't written anything new." Your mind, the psychological dimension of who you are, is constantly looking for variety and creating new things on a daily basis. It obviously has nothing to do with the existential, because the existential has always been the same. That is why the psychological decided something that is same all the time must be naturally boring. And that is why life has completely bypassed you. Right now, the question is coming because the only thing that is valuable in your life is your psychological process. You would not like to see that it is all rubbish. Definitely you would not like to see that it's all rubbish. So now the question arises, if you rubbish my lunacy, you must rubbish my love also. If you rubbish my rage, you must rubbish my devotion also. Yes, it is all rubbish. But right now that's all you have. So, at least create some wonderful kind of rubbish, because you have to employ this if you want to go beyond. Does the psychological have anything to do with the existential? If it had anything to do, if it had anything at all to do, then it wouldn't be something that you gathered, it would have been a part of you. But right now, the whole psychological process is the gathered process. Does it mean to say that the psychological has no meaning? It has. It is just like we wear these clothes. One thing, it covers our body. Another thing, it can decorate us. Another thing, it can be a statement of who you are. A million other things you can do with these clothes. But also, if you don't wish, you can discard this right now. So I'm not saying only the psychological, even the physiological has nothing to do with the reality. So, the psychological, does it have any value at all? It's just like, does your clothes have any value at all? As long as you're alive, as long as you live in a society, it has a value and a meaning. The meaning is contextual, it all depends in what context you are. Here, what kind of clothing I'm wearing is meaningful. If I'm in the middle of nowhere, somewhere in a desert, now whether I wear my clothes or do not wear my clothes has no meaning. So, the psychological is just like this, it has contextual meaning. If you want to be in a certain place, you need to maintain your psychology in a certain way. because it has no meaning. If you let it flow all over the place, then they send you to a certain place. If you do not create a meaningful psychological process, somebody else will decide where you should be. So, in that context, it is important. I am not saying it has no value in your life. It is extremely valuable. What kind of psychological process you carry within yourself right now, in that context, your love, your poetry, I like both of them, but your lunacy, I think we could do without it. I could do without it. I see a lot of it every day. So, the psychological process is created by you. It is your creation. The existential is not your making. It is the Creator's creation. You enjoy the psychological, there is no problem. But if you get lost in the psychological, then you will completely miss the existential. If you get too enamored by your own creation, you will totally miss the Creator's creation. Are they connected? You cannot exist here without the psychological. The existential is not your doing, there's nothing to do about it, it's there. But the psychological is your creation, so you can make it happen the way you want it. It can be 100% conscious process. You can have it or pull it back. You can throw it out or you can pull it back. Aren't you doing this all the time? Today you love this person, tomorrow it's all wrapped up and kept inside. Isn't this happening? So, your psychological, you can throw it out if you wish or roll it back if you want. And you can either have it going within yourself or you can just put it off. If you have the choice, if you really have kept the choice with yourself as to what happens in the sphere of the psychological is your conscious choice. Psychological is also a beautiful garden. If you have lost control over it, then you may call it love, you may call it poetry, you may call it rage, but it is just that one word which you said, it's just lunacy. Once it is no more a conscious process, it is just become a lunacy. So if your psychological process is in that state, then we call you a tick, a lunatic. Its connection with the existential is more as a stepping stone. It has nothing to do, but you can use the psychological either to go into lunacy or into freedom. You can use it to become absolutely compulsive or to become conscious. It is a device and it's your making. But especially because it's your making, you must make it the way you want, otherwise what's the point?
Sadhguru, I have tasted many times something of the beyond, but still I get stuck in many small petty issues. How do I overcome this and always maintain equilibrium?
So you have tasted the beyond, but now petty things still entangle you. So, If you have tasted it for a moment, just for one moment, if you know that there is something beyond what you think and feel, if that has become a real thing for you, even for a moment, then you must invest your life towards that. Yes, I'm trying to, but petty things carry me away. That is essentially because this happened. George Bernard Shaw had a friend who was an actor. He was a pretty inflated person. So, one day Bernard Shaw went into the backstage to meet him. So this friend was very tenderly touching his own clothes and adjusting his tie, patting himself down, looking in front of the mirror, standing in front of the full-length mirror. So Bernard Shaw looked at him and said, "You're truly in love with yourself, aren't you? The best part of this is, in the whole planet you don't have a single rival." So, you're little falling in love with yourself. That is why, even though the taste of the beyond is somewhere on your tongue, you still can get entangled because you're little becoming inflated personality. You're little in love with yourself. Is that wrong? Nothing wrong. It's just called madness. Because love is an effort, love is a longing to include something as a part of yourself. Love is a process, love is a possibility where you could become larger than who you are. You could become more than what you are by inclusion. Now, if you wallow in your own self-love, now this is going against all the popular teaching. People have been telling you, first you must love yourself before you love anybody. If you cannot love yourself, how can you love anybody? If you say, I want to love myself, now you are heading towards schizophrenic condition. Now you're creating two in one. If you want to ensure that you never go insane, the first and foremost step that you need to take is, you take away all divisions and you see this is an individual. An individual means he cannot be further divided, he's indivisible. You cannot divide him anymore. This is one entity, you can't make it into two. If you make it into two, I love myself, now you're heading towards madness. First step has been taken. If life situations cooperate, you will get there quick. If life situations don't create that situation for you, you may manage within socially accepted levels of that madness. So, the reason why, even if divine touches your tongue, even if the taste of the divine is there on your tongue, you can still get entangled, is simply self-love. It is a sure step, first step towards madness. Whether you're going to get there to the asylum status or you will get only to the ashram status, is subject to many things. But this happened to a man. He wanted to enroll himself in a college. So he saw a big building and walked in. There they had registration forms, he filled up everything, he signed, and when he went to the official to give it, to be enrolled in the college, the official said, "But this is not a college, this is an asylum." Then the man said, "But no, I wanted to join a college." But the official said, "No, this is an asylum." Then the man thought, "But I have already filled my registration form, so what difference, I will join up." Not much difference. I will join the asylum, what's the big difference? The official agreed, "Yes, not much difference, but there is one difference." What is it? "Here, unless you show improvement, we won't let you get out." So, ashram is just a Sanskrit word. An English word would be too insulting. So ashram, because with the taste of the divine on your tongue, you're trying or you have the necessary foolishness in you to fall in love with something so limited which you call as myself. That is a sure sign of madness. That is definitely a sure sign of madness. If you had never tasted it, then this is all you know, that's okay, because you don't know anything better. And the taste of the divine is still lingering, and you're getting entangled with something so limited as your personality, that is definitely a sign of madness, there is no question about it. If you are in such a state of madness, you're doomed. Even an astrologer will charge you half price, because when your destiny is so doomed, there's nothing much to predict, it's easy, really, it's very easy. No? But all this talk, don't get depressed. Should I be an optimist or a pessimist on the spiritual path? An optimist, a pessimist, and a realist were at the breakfast table. An optimist, there was a closed pitcher, a dish, a container, and the optimist looked at it and said, "Please pass me the cream." A pessimist looked at him and said, "Please pass me the milk." A realist said, "Please pass me the pitcher." So, if you're an optimist, you will be misled. If you're a pessimist, you'll be misled. So when you're down, I up you. When you're up, I down you, because I want you to be a realist. Only one who is in contact with reality will grow. Others, optimists will hallucinate, pessimists will get depressed. Both will not get anywhere. You have to be a realist. You're willing to see everything the way it is. No hype, no depression. You're just where it is. Most important. It's extremely important. So when I see you in a high, I put cold water on you. When you see you're low, I set fire to you. Don't think I'm playing with you. I'm just trying to bring you down to reality. If you go off this way, you're going away. If you go off this way, you're going away. We need you in reality. Only in reality you grow. Growth is possible only in reality. It's the existential which can transcend. The psychological, whatever it does, transcendence is also empty. Transcendence is also false in the psychological. There is no such thing as transcendence in the psychological sphere of your life. Transcendence has to be existential, because it is in the existential that your essential process of life is rooted in. What is happening in your mind, your thought and your emotion are psychological. They are just a small offshoot of life. It's not life. Right now, it may be keeping you fully engaged. Your thought and your emotion may be keeping you fully engaged right now, but it is just a small offshoot of life. It is not life. You can think what you want. Even if you're fast asleep, you're still life. In fact, you're more life when there is no psychological activity. If you have known a few moments of what you call as beyond, those were few moments where you were free from the psychological. Those few moments of freedom from the psychological, you are more present than ever. Years of living, a few moments where you're free from the psychological process were the most significant moments of presence in your life. So, that little taste that you have known, you must invest your life in that direction, not what your thoughts say, not what your emotions say. Your emotions and thoughts can say whatever they want. They will say one thing today, tomorrow morning they'll change their opinion. They're just like the local gossip. It keeps shifting. It keeps shifting what people are talking about today and what they're talking about tomorrow. Similarly in your mind, whatever your thought process is, whatever your emotional process is just local gossip, very localized to you. Enjoy it if it's nice, but don't believe it. If you like the gossip, you enjoy it. Gossip is for entertainment. You don't start your spiritual process on gossip. You don't start anything that really matters on gossip. Gossip is just for entertainment. And if the taste is divine, if the taste of the divine has come to you, then you will see entertainment doesn't mean anything. Suddenly entertainment doesn't mean anything at all to you, because all entertainment looks too stale and ridiculous for one who has tasted the real thing. I'm not talking about Coca-Cola. I'll close this. Are you becoming too pessimistic? The talk is rendering you too pessimistic? No, you always have been, that's not a problem. So, there was a French artist who did not have a single franc in his pocket. But one day he decided to go to a swank restaurant and ordered oysters. 1 plate, 2 plates, 3 plates. Very expensive food. Because he was an optimist. He was just hoping in one of the oysters he'll find a pearl. That's dangerous, you know. Being a pessimist, you will become depressed. Being an optimist, you will become a fool. To be balanced, to be a realist, to be able to recognize the real when it comes to you is very important.
Action for Rural Rejuvenation is a rural revitalization program offering medical care, community rehabilitation and human upliftment to more than 3,500 villages in rural southern India. Village games and inter-village tournaments are organised for community joy, reducing addictions and promoting social bonding above caste, creed, religion or economic status. Isha Vidya, the Foundation's education initiative, aims to provide affordable, high-quality school education to children in rural areas so that the native intelligence of children has the opportunity to bloom. The uniquely designed pedagogy promises to produce confident, English-speaking, computer-skilled youth capable of productive participation in the economy while preserving the identities of their origins and culture. Project Green Hands is a massive public reforestation effort aiming to plant 114 million trees. The project seeks to inspire people around the world to keep this planet habitable for future generations and establish a culture of care for the environment.
You are my perfect mirror, you show me what I'm not in the endless pit of what once was me. Layer and layer you peel off me, the pain it is but the joy it brings. So thank you for showing me what I'm not, for showing me what I could be.